Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. Welcome to episode 11 of Covermount Chaos Zzapped, The Next Generation. Today, in the second of my catch-up episodes, I'm looking at the games and demos that came along with issue 12 of the modern day Zzap magazine. The star of the show in the mag this time is the eagerly anticipated release of A Pig Quest, and looking at the score, it did not disappoint at all. I have a feeling that the content of the cover mount isn't going to disappoint many either, as I personally think this is the best selection of stuff they've had since they started doing these. So let's get stuck in looking at all the goodies, shall we? We kick things off this time with a double helping of classic PopCap games that have been ported over thanks to the extremely talented Dr. Mortal Wombat. First up is Plants vs Zombies, and I must admit I have never actually played the original version of this at all. I was a bit worried that I wouldn't know what I was doing, but I needn't have been, because the first of the three modes available, Day, takes you through each of the different units step by step and explains how each of them work. Basically, you place your nice plants on the left side of the screen, and you need sunlight in order to add more, so starting with sunflowers at the back makes logical sense. The sunflowers can't defend themselves from the ravening zombie hordes that are going to start shambling over from the right side of the screen though, so you'll need some pea shooters to fire back at them. As you go on, you will get walnuts that can act as a defensive shield, and many other types such as mines, freezing bullets that slows zombies down, and so on. If the zombies get through your defences and trash the garden on the left side of the screen, it's game over. For more expert players, there is an endless nightmare mode where you can see how long you can hold out until the zombies eventually win. This is a fantastic port with lovely graphics and sound, and controls that work pretty well, although you do really need access to a keyboard in order to quickly change unit type, so players on a C64 Mini may struggle. Other than that though, this is very impressive work. The other PopCap classic that we've been treated to is Zuma, a game that I played a ton of on my Xbox 360 back in the day. This is a very faithful port of the game, bringing over all of the modes and stage layouts that I remember, and even the soundtrack is recognisable as the same tune from the original. The idea of this game is to try and eliminate all of the coloured orbs that are rolling onto the screen, around a spiral or some other shape of track towards your home base. If any of the orbs reach your base, then it's game over. You control a spinning frog somewhere on the screen, usually in the centre, but not always. A little coloured dot on the frog denotes which colour of orb he's going to shoot next, and your task is to fire these orbs so that three or more of the same colour are next to each other, which eliminates them. If you manage to remove a colour that causes three or more of another colour to be adjacent to each other, then they are drawn together and you get a chain bonus. You may be familiar with other similar games that play just like this one called Magnetica or Puzzloop. These were the first examples of this type of game. PopCap just borrowed the gameplay and put an Aztec skin on things, while also adding some power-ups. If you eliminate the special power-up orbs, you may do things like rewind the entire train of orbs for a few seconds, get a very handy guiding line on the screen, or have an explosive orb to blow a whole chunk up at once. Zuma does work very well on the C64 because it only needs directional control and one fire button. Fine-tuning your aim can be a little bit fiddly, but multiple control options have been provided, so hopefully you can find one that works for you. Zuma can be a very addictive game, and there's many hours of play on offer here if you get into it. Thank you to Dr. Mortal Wombat and the Zzap team for giving us this generous gift. The fun doesn't stop there though, because there are still quite a few other goodies in store for us with this issue. Next up is Galasteroids by Arlosoft, a developer who pumps out quality release after release on their itch page and have provided this game for Zzap. They've taken the familiar player ship from Galaxians and transplanted it into asteroids, so you are on a fixed plane shooting upwards from the bottom of the screen, and the asteroids are shooting in a general downwards direction. You shoot them into their smaller parts until everything is destroyed, and then you move on to the next stage. Occasionally the UFO enemy will fly across the top of the screen that you can shoot for extra points. Visually it's not anything amazing really, but it does retain the look of the classic asteroids and Galaxian very well, which is the point. Worth picking up for a quick blast every now and then. It's simple, entertaining fun. Now we move over to a game called Zzap, which is another shoot-'em-up construction kit creation. As these games go, this is one of the better games I've played, with some fun stage design, nicely drawn sprites and tight controls. I still get the usual slowdown problems, but I think this is caused by emulation that isn't fully compatible with the way that the suit code works. The other limitations of suit are also evident, such as fixed attack waves that you can simply outweight and avoid rather than shoot. Special shout out has to go to the music, which is really good stuff. Zzap is a decent inclusion, but it's not as good as the rest of the Covermount this time. Up next is an updated demo of the Doom style FPS called Grey. Things have come along a little bit since last time, but we're still quite a long way off from having a fun game to play really. It's interesting to run around it for a while and gun down a few enemies, but this didn't hold my attention for very long. The penultimate item for this Covermount is Artillery Duel DX, which is a new variation on the classic turn-based tank game Scorched Tanks that you may remember. Basically, either two human players or one player and the computer can take it in turns to set the angle of their shot and the intensity of the gunpowder used to fire at the other player in an attempt to destroy them before the other player can do the same to them. Either one direct hit or multiple glancing blows can destroy the other gun emplacement, and you also have to take the changing wind speed into account. So it's essentially a race to dial in the exact settings that you need to hit the other player's gun before they can do the same to you. It can be a lot of fun when played against another human being. The presentation of this version is really neat, with the way a new random landscape is drawn for each round and then populated with some foliage. Grab a friend and blow them up. Finally, we have the Whirlybird's Christmas demo, which missed Christmas by quite a large margin by the time it appeared here. Anyway, the objective is to explore the fully 3D environment and find where the 3 Christmas elves are hiding. The 3D engine running this is quite impressive, if a bit slow, which is to be expected really. There's not really much of a game here, but it's a nice little bonus. It's a shame it missed the end of year issue. So then, that's everything included with the issue 12 Covermount, and my favourite of the bunch has to be Zuma. I love the original and this version is very faithful. It's sure to get a lot of playtime on my C64 Maxi and Steam Deck in the future. Issue 13 was recently made available on Patreon, so I will be playing all the Covermount games and bringing you that episode pretty soon. Before that though, I'm going to be kicking off the brand new season of the classic Zzap cover tapes next week, so be sure to come back and check that out if you're interested. See you on the next one, and in the meantime, take care.